Join Radio Riyadh's English Services weeknight talk show and share your views with us live. Call 435-7734. Area code in Riyadh 01. That's 01-435-7734. You may also send your views to our portal numbers 840-80 Al-Jawal, 6540 Mobile. Talk has never been this good on Radio Riyadh's Saudi Evenings. Weeknights, 8:30 to 9:30 p.m.
Welcome back. You'll be listening to the broadcasting service of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and this is your program Saudi Evening. We're joined by Mr. Sean Redmond. He is known, as we said before, as Yahya. Have you ever translated your last name into Arabic?
Redmond?
Yes?
No.
Maybe
الأحمرية, the red. They said that الأحمري or something.
Okay. Now, Yahya, let me ask you about the obviously this very unique cultural experience that you had over the course of your life, whether in Egypt, Kuwait, or Saudi Arabia, or elsewhere. Did it make you a different person from, let's say, a person with one culture or with one language?
Oh, definitely. I think language is a good vehicle. Obviously, it's an excellent vehicle to get into other cultures, and I think certainly it's certainly helped me to open up and to understand perhaps the mentality of different countries. Because you find, for example, the mentality in Egypt is different to the Gulf mentality, and Saudis might be different to Kuwaitis, and sometimes the way they think, or so you find where the experience comes. It's in learning social norms, and sometimes, for example, I might say something in English, and people get offended. And people think to me, "Well, you shouldn't have said that. You should have said this." And you should. I think, "Well, why are you getting?" That's happened to me sometimes with friends. You know, they'll say, "Lesh قلت كذا? Why did you say that?" And I think, "Well, what are you talking about?" For me, perhaps in England, it's okay to say something in a certain way, but you'll find here someone might be offended by something because you didn't think to say something in a certain way, and I think that's where you find sometimes that you find maybe English culture perhaps is more direct, very direct in a lot of ways. There's a lot more of they call mujamalat in Gulf culture.
Courtesy.
You have to courtesies, and you have to be very careful what you say, and sometimes you can mean something you didn't mean, and people sometimes interpret something in what you say that you didn't mean, and you have to go and explain it. But that's I think that's the part of discovering and living with other people as well, because I think Gulf culture especially, I think it's a very, very rich culture. I noticed that. Sometimes, for example, translating basic letters, you have, English is very, very, very to the point. It doesn't like to beat around the bush. Arabic has a lot of formalities, and
you have to go around the bush. I remember when I went to the States, and my friends would offer me a food, and I would say no. Basically, following the Arabic tradition, which is you have to insist. If you offer somebody food and he said no, that means he's shy. So you have to ask him twice or three times sometimes. So I was telling my friends, my American friends, that's the tradition. They said, "Look, brother, if you said no in US, that means no.
No means no. Yeah.
So then nobody will tell you,
Exactly.
Again, if you're hungry, then it's too bad. You just have to tell them if they offer you food and you're hungry, just grab it as they.
I think sometimes I've found that as well. Where it can happen sometimes where someone will say something, and maybe coming from my culture, I take it on face value. He or she said no. Khalas, it means no. And then the person is angry. You see, they're annoyed with you, and you think, because what they wanted to use to say no, you should. So you find that, and often where I find that's useful for me is when I have sometimes at work colleagues that have come fresh from the UK. They're not used to dealing with the culture. You have to sometimes advise people the ways to make people happy here. How, for example, to work with Saudis, for example, how the ways that that make, let's say, in a workplace easier with them. Sometimes it can be just little things like saying hellos, niceties, pleasantries. But I think perhaps Northern European culture is a lot more formal and rigid, I think. And so maybe sometimes there's a little bit of that still left in me. I'm kind of in between. I'm not this and I'm not that. I'm not Arab or not Western.
You still have, I mean, obviously, being born in a place, you still have your authentic or original tradition. Let me ask you another question with regard to food. For example, it's sort of a huge shift between fish and chips to jirish, for example, or garsan. I mean, how did you... I just find it with my friends when we travel to Asia. Asian food is totally different from Arabic food. So it's even totally different from European or American food.
Yeah.
And some of them would fast the whole of trip, and the only thing they would eat is hamburger.
McDonald's.
And I'll be trying everything except ham and pork and whatever is prohibited. And they
unless you ate it by accident, sometimes it can happen.
So far
sometimes the food can be spiked. You don't realize.
Well, I always ask. I make sure, but if it happens, it happens. There's nothing I can do about it. But I'm very picky and finicky about asking the details of the food. Sometimes some of the waitress would lie to you, and this is a problem. Or they're not sure, they just want to slide you off. They just want to get rid of you. Oh, it's okay, go ahead, it's beef.
Exactly.
But you have to be careful.
Sure. Yeah.
But let me ask you about this huge shift. I mean, trying very traditional Arabic food. Sometimes our young Saudis would not even try. I mean, they're not interested in eating except in some occasions or parties or eat. My question to you, how would you advise our young people to basically to be open to other cultures? And part of culture obviously is food.
Yeah, I think it's you have to. It's like a bit being open-minded is you just have to is not have a fear. So if you go to a foreign restaurant, you got to just attempt it. Sometimes people will say, "Oh no, Chinese food, I don't like the sound of that," or Thai food. I mean, I don't like the sound of that. But I, for example, there's a Thai restaurant I know here in Riyadh. I know lots of people that have never heard of Thai food, and they go to it, and they can't stop going to it because I think it's just, some people get used to only eating a certain type of food. I'll only eat meat and rice or certain and a small amount of dishes, and maybe some foreigners or some people from England are the same. They're just used to certain types of food. They're not adventurous. It might be too spicy, it might be too hot. Maybe I don't. They're only used to having chicken cooked in a certain way. They won't try it in another way.
They won't kabsa.
A lot of it just comes as just give it a try and see. You're not losing anything. I think it's just having a spirit of adventure.
Absolutely. Now back to I always get to ask this question, Yahya, since you are involved with languages and English, what is the best method to learn English? Am I old to learn English?
No.
What is the best school to learn English? All these questions, how would we answer them, since you are, bilinguistic?
To be honest,
or multilinguistics for this.
I kind of reverse the question, because for me, how did I learn Arabic? The simple answer was, okay, part of it has to be formal learning in an institute, but the most important part was going away to an Arab country for a year. That's the first.
And vice versa, if you're an Arab, you go to England, for example.
If it's not possible, then the next best thing is you have to really go to a language school and just try and go through several levels, not just one level. Try and read as much, listen as much, try and meet foreigners if you can. But the best way is really to go to a foreign country, an English-speaking country, and invest in a course, because that's the only way you can really immerse yourself in the language in a proper way. If I hadn't gone to Egypt for a year, I don't think I would have been able to speak Arabic the way I did.
And I think age is a factor. So the early is
the better.
The early is the better.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay,
certainly.
Very interesting. Now, what do you like the most about the Saudi culture?
I think Saudis are easy to get on with. Really, I mean, they make very good friends, very honest, straight up front. In every culture, you've got some people that aren't, that maybe aren't good. But here, I think people are very forward and very open to others. They're not stuck up, very welcoming, and I've actually been made to feel very home here.
Yeah. Very interesting.
I did.
Okay, it's about time to take another break. We will take a break and we'll be back. Stay with us. You'll be listening to your program, Saudi Evenings.
Saudi Evenings is now.